Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for part 4 of the Monday Q&A, so let's get to it. On a follow-up to your video about potatoes and cutting, my question is, does it matter how the potatoes are cooked when you consume them, e.g. fried versus baked? Yes, this very much matters. All of the data that show that potatoes are the highest satiation carb that people could find per calorie, other than just fibrous vegetables, we're talking about potatoes. We're not talking about potatoes plus something else. If you fry it in oil, you've added something else. Talking about baked or boiled with a little seasoning on it. And this data again goes to show you that people are wrong when they talk about fat being satiating. Fat is fairly satiating per gram, but per calorie it's oftentimes not very satiating at all in studies. And when you start frying potatoes or making French fries, yeah, their satiation factor dropped a lot lower than when they were done the other way per calorie. Yes, it does matter in this aspect, and actually I don't recommend fried foods at all other than on rare occasion. I would keep fried foods in general in moderation. I'm not saying you shouldn't eat any, but as far as an overall healthy lifestyle, it's not something you should be eating on a daily basis. Keep it in moderation. Alright, next question. When should children start training and how should they start? You can have children start exercising as young as 5 or 6 years old, but the caveat would be I would not put a child on a structured weight training program until after they've hit puberty and they start releasing the hormones they need to actually see true tissue hypertrophy. You can increase neural efficiency, you can strengthen connective tissue and overall health in a child with exercise below this, but you're not going to see true hypertrophy, and it is simply not worth putting them on any sort of structured weightlifting program. I would say for children, basic sports are probably your best form of exercise. Something they can do to run and play, whether it's baseball or football, basketball, it doesn't matter. Basic sports are going to help them more than anything because they're getting both a combination of exercise and learning motor skills that are going to improve their coordination, their balance, their agility. Things like that is going to be more useful to them. And if you want any sort of training in there outside of the sports, basic running, jumping jacks, a few push-ups, maybe some chin-ups, maybe some body weight squats. Just body weight type movements. I wouldn't add resistance to a child because they simply are not going to benefit from it in the way that they would at a higher age when they're producing more sex hormones. I don't think you're going to see any benefit out of it. And if you just want better bone density and mobility, joint health, connective tissue health, those basic body weight movements are really all they need, and I would stick primarily to more motor skill oriented stuff like sports for the most part. And they're going to enjoy it a lot more because it's going to be fun, not work. Alright, next question. When looking for a weightlifting belt, do you recommend using the thickest meet legal belt, usually 13mm, or something closer to the 10mm range? Alright, for the non-competitive lifter who just needs safety, I wouldn't really go over a 10mm belt. That's all you really need. People are going to argue with me on this, but the reality is the purpose of a belt is to improve neural efficiency mostly. And if you're trying to get just a little more weight out of a max, and there's no real benefit for someone who's not training maxes and not training to be competitive with them, I just don't see the need for going over a 10mm belt. So I need to upgrade to the 13, and actually the 13 is uncomfortable. When you miss a squat with a 13mm belt that is put on tightly, it hurts, and it hurts enough that it can put you out of training for several days. And I know because I have a 13mm and I have missed max type squats while wearing it, and I can't train for 2 or 3 days afterwards sometimes because of the internal bruising and pulling it causes to things like my intercostal muscles. They are painful when you miss a squat with a 13mm belt that is tightened correctly. And so for most people, there's no need for that extra expense and that extra discomfort when you miss a lift. And realistically, for anyone who's not going to be squatting over 500 pounds or deadlifting over 600 pounds, it's really a waste to even upgrade to a 13mm. There's just no point. So that's my advice on that. And I would even say for a lot of people, as you notice, I train right now without a belt at all. So what you need to weigh out personally is that, do you feel that you actually need a belt in this point in your training? And you need to ask yourself, what purpose are you using the belt for? Because for some goals, training without a belt might be better, and for other goals, training with the belt might be better. So you need to step back and assess that with your own training. And remember, belts are there to improve neural efficiency and stability. They do not protect your lower back. A strong core and good technique protects your lower back. Alright guys, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it has been informative, and I will talk to you next time in part 5.